I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. This is This Week in Crootin. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, our Director of Recruiting here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScouts. He has fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And, of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express.
That would slap right now.
It would slap right now. It probably would.
That's good enough for me.
That's good enough for me.
It really would. I'm hungry.
It would hit. It hits all the time, but especially when you're hungry.
Mondays it hits different.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah, heal your case of the Mondays by going to Chicken Express.
It's a great idea. It's This Week in Recruiting. And normally on this program, we do a couple of different segments, like you recruit on Commit of the Week, Prospect on the Rise, things like that. But we want to do something a little bit different because you, on TexasFootball.com/recruiting, last week unveiled. Was it 100 new 3-stars?
Well, over the last week it was 50.
Okay.
The week before 50.
So over the last 2 weeks, you've revealed 100 new 3-stars in the class of 2026.
Spoiler, 50 more this week.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're rolling out the 3-stars for the class of 2026, which are seniors to be for the next Texas high school football season. And first and foremost, I want you to, because when you do this type of thing, there are some guys that, quite frankly, you are arriving at them to their notoriety at the same time as a lot of other places. 247, right. Our friends at On 3, our friends at Scout and Rivals, etc. But I want to focus particularly on a couple of guys who maybe you feel like you are early on, that you are kind of first through the door, so to speak, to say this is somebody that you should be paying attention to who's on that three.
I like that.
The 3-star list. And so the first guy I want to talk to, because you sent me an email with these names already, I want to start with a guy who saw the state championships.
Yep.
It is.
You're a little bit surprised that we're 100% first, though, on this name, I think, when you say it.
Austin Vandergrift, quarterback, Miles Teodecki. This guy, I thought, showed out in the state championship game and really proved that, he can make every throw and worthy of being on your recruiting spotlight board.
Crafty left-handed thrower with state championship pedigree, and I would say a pretty good offer list.
Mm-hmm. Starting to
coming
develop,
together there for him. North Texas, Texas State, UTEP, UTSA, all those in-state, and then out-of-state schools like Colorado State, Cincinnati, Florida Atlantic, Coastal Carolina. Cincinnati there being a big P4 offer in the Big 12, I think, giving him an opportunity to potentially play a lot of his games in the region, but also play at the P4 level. But I think this is a recruit that more schools will come in on during the spring evaluation period. It's a pretty decent quarterback year, but I would put him in the grouping of, there are a couple of these, top end marquee names, but outside of that, there's a grouping of about 7 or 8 guys. He's in that next grouping, competing for all these offers with those talents. So he could. He could be Kansas State, Oklahoma State. We'll have to find out where all the dust settles, but I think that he has a P4 skill set.
I'll tell you what really stood out to me watching him in that state championship game and being down there on the sidelines. Dude, he is built. Okay,
yeah.
He's 6'2". They list him at 6'2", 205. It would not surprise me if he was playing heavier during his junior year, because he looked like he was just built physically, a guy who can make all the throws, certainly, and he's got that mentality where he is not going to take off and scramble for a 70-yard touchdown, 3 times a game. But his ability to move within the pocket and move outside the pocket while keeping his eyes downfield, I thought was really on display in that state championship game. And then over the course of the season, really, really grew.
He sees the game really well. Mm-hmm. I think that's a way to kind of describe what he he does so effectively under center. He sees the game so well. He kind of anticipates really well, and that allows him to do exactly what you're saying. He recognizes whether he needs to get out to the right or out to the left, and he kind of has that natural feel for when things are falling down around him. He doesn't get hit with those big blind sides or make a lot of mistakes with how he traverses within the pocket. I love that about his game.
Miles Teodecki, the quarterback at Austin Vandegrift, coming back for his senior year,
Yeah.
and going to be a guy that we're going to be paying attention to a lot, a new DCTF 3-star, as is a guy who led his team to the state semifinals, Canyon West Plains offensive tackle Keegan Collins. Speaking of built, 6'5", 275 pounds. But there are guys who, like, you look at the frame and you're like, oh, okay, I can see why you're a 3-star. I look at him and I'm just like, this dude's a mauler out there at the left tackle spot.
I fell in love with him in the playoffs. Was it Alito?
Salina. That took Salina to the mat.
Salina had the orange stuck in my had
good orange team.
Yeah, good orange team. Fell in love with him during that playoff game, and of course they had a tremendous season. I'm actually surprised. There are some of the sites that don't have a profile for Collins yet, so I'm kind of surprised by that. He's got some pretty good offers, namely Texas Tech is being the big P4 in-state offer for Keegan Collins. Also has Texas State, UTEP, UTSA, Florida Atlantic, and UCF. Does a little bit of everything well. I think he's equally efficient at pass and run blocking. I think that makes him versatile. I think he could slide inside and play guard at the next level. 6'5", 6'6", 275, 280 pounds right now. Has plenty. His long arms are long enough to stick at tackle as well. There's a lot of long attributes for Collins.
He's built really, really well, and also just a guy who plays a little bit nasty. And I've really enjoyed watching his tape. He is a guy who we're going to be keeping an eye on there for Canyon West Plains. A new DCTF 3-star is Keegan Collins. Finally, the last one you spotlighted, as you feel like we're pretty early on, going back to the greater Austin area, to Georgetown running back Jet Walker. Okay? This is let me borrow a phrase from Carter Yates. Here's a guy who I'm not really sure why we're first on him, because the numbers are outrageous. He was almost a 2,500-yard rusher last year, and he's already picking up some offers. But this guy, I have really enjoyed watching him, and he runs so tough that, like, I love watching Jet Walker play, and every time he gets the ball, it feels like it's box office, like something fun's going to happen.
Yeah, he didn't struggle at all. Of course, he played at Lampasas before he moved to Georgetown for the 2024 season. To me, the level of competition didn't slow him down whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it didn't. He outproduced, I think, his stats from the year before by 700 yards, 2,348 yards, 38 total touchdowns. That's 10.7 yards per carry in a pretty competitive district. He was the district MVP, and he's 6'2", 215 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an impressive specimen. Jet Walker is a guy who brings I love his athleticism. I think he could play linebacker if he wanted to. So maybe could we put him in that Dawson Pendergrass?
Oh, I like that.
What I mean? Like, that was like a DCTF favorite. I feel like Jet Walker's a DCTF favorite as well because of the way that he attacks the game. I think that's why we like him. And Georgetown's pretty low-key loaded.
Yeah.
Caden Shearer up front on the offensive line. Spoiler, pay attention to the 3-stars that are coming out this week. This will be, I think, the third straight week that a Georgetown player will have made it to 3-star status. Xavier Warren, a very talented wide receiver there. They got a pair of linebackers over there that I really like. Just a lot of talent at Georgetown, and Jet Walker is a name to know. Houston's already offered him, so I mean, he's got some P4 love from the in-state schools.
So those are 3 guys that we feel like in the new batch of DCTF 3-stars at texasfootball.com/recruiting that we're early on. Okay, I want to now challenge you on a couple of guys that I feel like need to be on 4-star watch. Okay? That they've just got upgraded to 3-star, and I'm here to tell you I don't know if that's going to be enough. Okay? There's a couple of guys I got my eye on. One of them, we actually just talked about their coaching change. Let's go to Bernie. to talk about their tight end, Ben Bays. Okay, Bernie, tight end, defensive end, Ben Bays. The frame is outrageous. 6'4", 220. Right? He was a guy who they spread the ball around so well that like his numbers I think are not gonna blow you away. 27 catches for 531 yards and 6 touchdowns. Good, but he's also playing both ways there at the 5A level. I think this is a guy who I could see really shooting up recruiting charts once people get an eye on his tape, because he can do a little bit of everything, and that frame plays everywhere.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the younger brother of Rice Signee Braden Bays as well. So, I mean, those younger brothers at legacy schools tend to work out pretty good. Ben was also the next level athlete, Texas Top 100 Showcase tight end MVP. And since that time, he started to pick up some good traction in his recruitment. He's got some offers to his credit already, and this is a sneaky pick. I like that you went off of the radar. I think this one's like a deep cut, right? Like this one's way off the radar.
Guy, I turned on his tape and I'm like, this guy can do a little bit of everything. Like I love that versatility.
It's going to be an interesting tight end year in the rankings as it is. I've in my mind kind of both of these guys are also 3 stars for now. Zachary Turner actually was just bumped to a 4. Zachary Turner and Ryder Mix. Ryder Mix committed to Oklahoma, and Zachary Turner, it's not really fair to call him a tight end, though.
Yeah.
He's a wide receiver tight end.
Yeah, he's got that kind of like the big slot. Basically.
933 yards at Duncanville last year. He has that look first off the bus type of guy. Who's going to be the number 1 tight end is Ben Bays in that mix. Now I'm going to take your consideration.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll put Ben Bays in the top tight ends mix.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's one other guy.
Tight end or DN? Before we move on, tight end or DN based off of what you saw there.
Boy, you're going to make me pick. I think he might be a better D end. But I also know it's a more crowded field, and so he might have a better chance of being a 4-star tight end.
Yeah.
And I'm in this for being right. You know what I mean?
No, I know. Me too.
I don't know. I can see both. Like, that's the thing. I really enjoyed watching. The other thing about him on the tight end side is, like, obviously the numbers and catching the ball, he's fun to watch. Blocking as well.
Yeah.
Like, he's a willing, able, and ferocious blocker, which I think is gonna impress some people too.
I was leaning toward defensive end for my projection of Bays too. Because I thought, he's gonna get a takeover. His brother's gone. He's gonna be like the star of the show on defense, probably, right? His tape on defense is pretty good. Until I got a chance to watch him at that next level. He loves having the ball in his. He has like an offensive attitude. So now I'm thinking tight end. He likes having the rock.
So there's one other guy that I want to put on your radar as say, let's consider him for 4-star status. And we're going to go out east to Dangerfield wide receiver Mason Williams. You recently made him a DCTF 3-star. Again, this is a guy who I think the numbers, because they had a couple of other really stud wide receivers on that Dangerfield ball club. But every time I watch him, the word electrifying comes out.
Yeah.
This is a guy who I think can make those big plays and turn that short gain into a game breaker. The other thing about him, and this is why I want to put you on that, because I'm always of the opinion that everyone who follows football is smarter than I am. He's got 2 offers right now, right? UTSA and Miami.
Yep.
Okay. To me, that feels like they've spotted something. Those are 2 programs. Miami, obviously a big program. They come into the state of Texas, and they are kind of snipers trying to get 1 or 2 big guys on that. UTSA, on the other hand, under Jeff Traylor, has made hay on finding those guys that nobody else is finding. And I think Mason Williams could be that next guy. I might be blowing up Jeff Traylor's spot here by saying I think Mason Williams could be the next big thing out there in East Texas.
I'm not going to argue against Mason Williams. 6'3", 175 pounds. I think the way to describe his game is smooth. Whenever you said you're going out east, my mind immediately turned to Alzor Miles II out of Kaufman, who we just made a 3-star. So I thought, he's going to pick Miles, who would have been like one of those guys that I could have said, we're first on him. But I think he might be a 4-star maybe on some other service. So that's where my brain went. But I love the pick of Mason Williams. He was one of the stars of the state 7-on-7 tournament as well. And I think that you're turning on your vision biased.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you saw this guy with your own two eyes. You're now vision biased to Mason Williams.
I think that's fair. He's a guy who I think impressed me at 7-on-7, and like you, again, a guy who looks really good getting off the bus. You know what I mean? Like the frame is really impressive, and then you see him play, and his ability. You mentioned smooth, and his ability just to high point things.
Yeah,
there are guys who have that big frame, but they're not great at using it. He uses it.
He kind of like lulls you to sleep, and then boom.
Yeah. Comes
Something explosive happens.
Exactly.
I get exactly what you're saying and why I can see why you would. I can definitely see why you would make this pick.
So Mason Williams, a guy to keep an eye on.
I'm not going to argue against your. I'm not going to argue against.
I signed up for a fight.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to counterpoint with my picks on 3 stars. Who are, I'm going to go with one that I really liked. Was we talked about Miles, Isaiah Lee. And Lancaster, the running back there, he played safety 2 years ago. Or it was like kind of like a Mr. Do-It-All for them. They lost Kawan Lacey, and they needed a running back to step up. I got to watch him very early in the season. It was actually the first game against North Crowley, and he played really well, but he got progressively better throughout the course of this. That's one that I'm feeling like, oh, well, because he got so much better game over game. Is Isaiah Lee one of those guys? Okay. That's one of the ones.
Yeah,
really, like one of the ones that I had a hard time like laying my pillow.
He could be that guy that like we're 3 games into the 2025 season, and you're like, I could have been first to make him a 4-star, and now it's obvious he's a 4-star. You know, like just getting a little bit more tape on him could be really, really huge.
We talked about Ryder Mix. I love him a lot. I could really fall into that one as well. But there is also a kid at Cyrance that's really been taken off, and that's Calvin Thomas, the outside linebacker. Notre Dame recently offered him. He started getting a lot of scholarship offers from all over. So, like, if you're looking at one of these 3 stars and you're saying, oh, here's a guy who could be 4 stars everywhere, the name that I'd probably really watch is Calvin Thomas.
He's Greg Powers. He's a name we always watch here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScouts. He has fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Thanks, Powers.
Appreciate it.
We're Texas Football Today. We're here Mondays and Thursdays on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com.